Alright, we know nothing about this one. We're gonna find out after we try it.
Kentucky Vintage.
Yes, so this is a 90 proof. It is labeled as a quote-unquote original sour mash.
And all we know is that it is, in fact, made in Kentucky.
Yes. So...
It smells a little young. It has some of those young, like, grainy, doughy notes.
It does.
A little sweet.
Brown sugar.
Brown sugar, and don't get a lot of oak because it's young.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of cornmeal, something like that.
Maybe cornbread.
Possibly. Yeah, the nose is very, very light, very young, very... Although it doesn't smell like a bad young. Like that fucking, what was that one whiskey we had that was unanimously one of the worst whiskeys we've had?
Oh, Connie at Lake Halftown.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
That was bad.
I haven't drain poured it yet, honestly.
I don't know.
It might be savable as a mixer, but...
Potentially. Yeah, this is a very sweet young whiskey. It doesn't have a lot of the negatives of like a young whiskey because it's not hot, it's not bitter, it's not.
It just has those like young oak.
Yeah, it's definitely a very young whiskey, but it's very sweet. It's very easy to drink. It's very light, and it doesn't have like that burn or like astringency or like discomfort of drinking some young whiskeys. You want to know what this reminds me of, actually? The Balcones Baby Blue.
I could see that.
It reminds me a little bit of that.
Yeah, just dial back the corn about 20 notches from 30 to 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
But, alright, let me look up and see where this is actually from.
I'm very interested to find out. Watch it be sourced from... I don't even know who they would source it from because it's definitely not Jim Beam. It might be Heaven Hill. It might be Lux Row.
So, Kentucky Bourbon Distillers. Mash bill undisclosed. No age statement. Is a $30 bottle. The age is rumored to be about 10 years.
I could believe that there's 10 year in it. I would not believe that it's an average of 10 years.
It is.
Because it's definitely mostly young whiskey, and I could see some old whiskey being...
Is it a Willett?
It might be Willett. That actually, I could totally see this being a Willett product. Because this actually reminds me of Johnny Drum now that I'm thinking about it.
It's... I want to say it is a Willett, actually. It is... It's made in Bardstown. Yeah, KBD is Willett. Kentucky Bourbon Distillers.
You know what? This actually does kind of remind me of like Johnny Drum and Rowan's Creek.
And supposedly, it actually does have approximately a 10 or more year age. There's no age statement, but supposedly the whole thing is aged about that long.
Interesting. Because
it drinks younger than that.
It has youthful notes to it. But it also does have that distinct Willett characteristic to it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, this really does remind me of Johnny Drum.
It does.
It's missing some of the weird pickle notes and some of the weird other notes. But this is a very sweet bourbon. And I mean,
it's
for $30.
$30, this is not bad at all.
No, this isn't bad. No. I mean...
$30 prices it as a daily sipper. I think it's a good sweet option for a daily sipper.
If you want to be honest, I feel like this is better than a lot of other stuff in the $30 price range.
I might have to agree.
Like, I think this is better than Standard's Maker's Mark.
They're my favorite distillery, and I agree.
Well, you and I both love Maker's Mark, but we'll point blank say that the like standard Maker's Mark isn't the best.
Right. It's not meant to be the best.
No. I mean, I think that there's other things. Like, I think Buffalo Trace is a far better bourbon than standard Maker's Mark.
For sure.
But some of the best Maker's Mark products are better than most of the stuff I've had from Buffalo Trace.
Yeah. But this is... I've been hit or miss with Willett products. I think this one's a hit for me.
I think it's funny because I like the lower proof stuff from Willett better than the higher proof. Because, like, Rowan's Creek is, like, around 104, I think. And, Rowan's Creek is their barrel proof. That's, like, 116. No, Noah's Mill. There's Noah's... Oh, right. So it's Noah's Mill, Johnny Drum, and Rowan's Creek are the big three from Willett.
Mm-hmm.
Not including the rye whiskeys and
the pot still.
Yeah. And the pot still, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But there's, like... I find, like, a distinct favoring towards their young... Like, not their younger stuff, but their lower proof stuff with, like, Johnny Drum. Even this... And, like, I'm not a huge fan of Rowan's Creek or Noah's Mill. And usually I like higher proof stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of those.
Yeah, it is kind of... I've kind of noticed that with Willett, too, where the two I've liked the most have been Johnny Drum and this.
And, I mean, again, their fucking pot still bourbon is atrocious.
Yeah. This should be in that bottle, not that.
Realistically, yeah. I mean, I feel like you could charge more for this and people would still spend the money because it's very... There's nothing offensive about it whatsoever.
No,
there's a ton of offensive stuff in Willett Pot Still, but there's nothing offensive about this. This is not the best bourbon ever, but it's not offensive whatsoever.
It is not priced or marketed to be the best bourbon ever. It's priced and marketed to be a $30 bottle, and it's one of the better ones at doing that.
Yeah, Yeah, you slap a prettier bottle on this, you can justify charging more for it.
And I'm still surprised that it's generally believed that this is a 10+ year bourbon.
That's still surprising me, because
that would make this basically like Willett's equivalent of an Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see it.
I mean, the simplicity, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Because Eagle Rare is a 10-year, but it's also very simple.
Right.
It's like very brown sugar and maple
forward. That's sort of what we're getting at here with this.
Then I guess it's just a matter of where they age it in their... Like, they probably put this in, like, the least, like, suitable places of the rack house. Because, I mean, there's prime spots and there's weaker spots where you put your whiskey. And I'm assuming that they put this in some of the weaker spots.
Mm-hmm.
But it still works. Like, they put good distillate in there and they put it in good barrels, so the end product is still pretty tasty. Like, yeah. I can't really knock this whiskey.
It has youthfulness, but it doesn't taste young, if that makes sense. Now that we've let it sit a little bit, because we also got the neck pour.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind too.
Because it's doughy. It's not quite yeasty, but it's definitely doughy.
Mm-hmm. It's
not oaky at all. It's got some of the sweet notes, but like... Yeah, I'm very... This is a confusing bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like it. And I think that if I saw it more, I would probably buy a bottle of it after I clear out some of my shelves. But
yeah, honestly.
Like, this would be a good budget pour for sure.
This would be, in my opinion, great when Eagle Rare is inevitably impossible to find.
I would replace Eagle Rare with this. I could easily see myself replacing Eagle Rare with this. And Buffalo Trace, too, for that matter.
Yeah. Kind of has the best of both worlds, where it's not super, super sweet compared to an Eagle Rare.
Yeah, Eagle Rare is nothing but brown sugar, cherry, like dark cherry, and I guess a little bit of maple and a little bit of oak, but that's it. That's all you get in that. It's simple, but it's dark and sweet.
Yeah, this one has a little bit more complexity.
I don't know if I would say complexity. I would say it's lighter and still very sweet, but in a different kind of sweet.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Like, this is like a graham cracker, graham cracker, vanilla, creamy sweet like doughy sweet. Eagle Rare is definitely a darker whiskey than this.
Right.
And a little bit fruitier too, because of like the Buffalo
I'm glad
Trace
we tried this before looking up where it was from, because I feel like it would have influenced our opinion a little.
Potentially. But the more I drink this, the more it does remind me of Johnny Drum.
Mm-hmm.
Between the two, I would still pick Johnny Drum, but
yeah,
I still like this.
Yeah.
And what did you trade for this again?
I traded this, the Buffalo Trace store pick we're about to be doing, and a 1792 single barrel store pick for Old Elk blended whiskey, Nika coffee grain, and what's the third one? Oh, and actually Willett rye. Willett 110 proof rye.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a fair trade. I think that was a very fair trade.
I think so too, and depending on how these other two go, I might feel like I want it.
I think MSRP-wise, you may have lost out a little bit, but value-wise, you definitely want it.
I was going to say, I don't care about MSRP if it's bottles I like more.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, the value of these bottles relative to the values of the bottles you traded, I think these are better.
For sure.
Because Nika coffee is probably the only good, like, products from Suntory I've tasted. At least of the standard stuff you can find. Like, I'm just not a big Japanese person, but Nika coffee malt is very good. Coffee grain is pretty good. From the Barrel is probably my least favorite, but it's still a solid whiskey.
Right. But, yeah, so, and this was added on as a kicker, so I'd say I picked the right kicker.
I'd say so. I mean, what were your other options for kickers?
Like, Old Bardstown, Standard Buffalo Trace, stuff along those lines. I don't remember offhand what the other ones were.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace is easy enough to get that it's not really a kicker anymore. Like, nobody wants Buffalo Trace that much anymore.
Meanwhile, this, I'd never seen it. I knew nothing about it. And I was like, you know what? That's the only one here I've never heard of. Sure.
Old Bardstown is unique, though. I will give it that.
It is, but I already have a bottle. So.
Right.